Again, please, a reminder, this is a council meeting. You are obviously welcome here to hear what's being said, but this is not a Roman forum. It's not a place for applause or anything else. There's other opportunities for that, but this is not it. And if that continues, quite frankly, I'm going to ask council to adjourn the meeting. Okay, thank you very much for respecting the time limit. It's much appreciated.
You're welcome. Are there any questions before I go?
The time for the delegation is 10 minutes all in. Okay, as you are aware, there will be a further discussions around at committee when we receive the economic reports that we're expecting from staff, and I'm sure that this will certainly form part of that discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Ritter. Okay, opportunity for inquiries at this point. So I have to go to the microphones, please. And if you just state your name, please, and try to keep it as an inquiry.
Michelle March, Gibsons.
There is some seating available in the front row if there's anybody in the back who wants to sit.
Michelle March, Gibsons. My background is in urban land economics. I find it very strange that the delegate, Dorothy Riddle, has not included the multiplier effect in her analysis. In fact, she downplays the effect and the possible economic benefits of the George Hotel and residents to Gibsons. And this effect is very well known and is normally utilized in this type of economic analysis. And further, Dr. Riddle is using her professional designation CMC on the report. The Code of Professional Conduct for this designation states objectivity as a key responsibility. My question is, will a report that is so flawed and biased be accepted by council? Thank you.
I think the answer is that this is information that's available to council for individual councillors to use as they deem appropriate.
Mr. Mayor and councillors, my question is, first of all, my name is Carol Jennings. I've only lived here for 4.5 years and I love it. So, first of all, my question is, do we have access to the survey that was done? Because she has a lot of questions that she has answered. I would love to have a look at the survey and see.
Sorry, what survey?
Did she not say that she questioned and she answered? For example, in question 4, current visitors were asked if they would come. That's actually, a survey that she.
Yeah, I think you probably have to talk to her perhaps after the meeting because we don't have that. So
for me, that's a little bit unfounded. So back to question number 3, she says people that come to stay in a convention stay in the hotel. And as my background is in the travel industry, and I can tell you, you do not stay in the hotel. You get out as fast as you can and get some fresh air and walk and travel and see the sights. I totally disagree with her that people stay in a hotel. And not only is my background in the travel industry, but also as a traveler. You know, as a traveler, I'm 60 years old, and I am a traveler. And I will spend $150 or $105 to come and stay in a place like this. And number 6, 56 rooms versus 118 on the screen. She said that she would like to see 56 rooms, whereas she also then said that they would like to see 250 people come with those 56 rooms. So I'm looking and I'm thinking, you know, having a wedding, 56 rooms is not going to be enough to accommodate just a wedding, let alone a small convention. So where does we had a wedding last year in June, and it was hard to accommodate 150 people. And that's every B&B. It's hard. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Microphone over here, please.
Hi, Andrea Goldsmith, Dougal Road. I just want to say there are clearly strong opinions, both for and against this project as it is currently proposed. We know the committee recommendation last week was to move forward with this project, but there are clearly a lot of people in this room here who disagree with that decision. And my question is specifically for Mayor Rowe and Councillors Chedick and Sanjanko, and I'd like to have an answer from each one of you individually, please. And that is, are you willing to keep an open mind and consider this information from Dr. Riddle that the economics of this project are not what they are being promised to be? Are you willing to or just willing, doesn't mean you have to, but are you willing to reconsider your decision from last week's committee meeting as per Dr. Riddle's request tonight, as well as pending the other information that is still outstanding, such as the hydrogeological reports? And if not, are you willing to continue fanning the flames of this debate? And I'd like to know what's the rush to move forward with this decision, given this information from Dr. Riddle, as well as the outstanding information that we don't have yet.
Right, thank you. For myself, and the other councillors can answer if they wish to, certainly be considering all the information that comes to us from our staff over the next several weeks or months, whatever it takes.
The question was about tonight, not in the next few weeks.
Yeah, well, you know what? We'll be talking about that in the next part of the agenda, so you'll just have to stand by.
Yeah, and I will respond in the whole process, not just tonight. I've always approached these kinds of things with an open mind, and I think Ottawa proves that. Okay, and I'm just hoping that the people that are so against this would have as much of an open mind as I do.
We'd love to see a 35-foot proposal.
Again, please refrain from responding.
Andrea, you don't know me very well because you moved away and you moved back, but I think anyone that does know me knows I have a pretty open mind, or I wouldn't be sitting at this table. I respect Dr. Riddle. I wish this information would come with all of the other information, with the economic reports that are coming. It's hard to look at one piece of information. And I think I made it pretty clear last week that the reason that I was even asked staff wanting to move forward was because if we don't move forward with one step, there's no reason to go forward with the other reports we're waiting for. So that was one of the questions that we kind of talked about last week. I'm not sure if you remember that. So some of the reports that we're all waiting to see are kind of dependent on moving forward in some of these other areas.
Well, this is for form and character. It's not, for example, hydrogeological or aquifer-based.
Yeah, well, the form and character to some extent dictates the reports that are going to come to us. Okay.
Thank you very much. Graham Walker, South Fletcher. Just speaking of reports and information coming forward, I'm sort of trying to be the neighborhood guy here and live very close to it. I noticed in the developer's checklist, sorry I couldn't find it on my tab just now, but there's a mention of a neighborhood meeting. I don't know if required or suggested. I think it's required. For the developer is supposed to provide a traffic analysis and numerous reports. And there's wording of a neighborhood meeting should be held or shall be held, I'm not sure. And the planner's report should be included on that neighborhood meeting, should be included with the first presentation of the development. This is on the development checklist. So I'm just asking, is this so far our neighborhood has not felt consulted or in any way, and we are feeling that maybe this is something that we should have. So is there such a planner's report available?
Andre, are you able to respond to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Mr. Walker is referring to an information meeting that is mentioned in our application guide. This applicant has held two information meetings for the community, one for the previous design and one for the latest design in November. So
I think the wording has been covered. I think the wording was a community meeting, a neighborhood meeting. Is the wording in the neighborhood meeting? It's not just community consultation, as far as I know. I'm sorry I couldn't find it on my pad, but okay. My last question is there it mentions the planner's report should be provided on this consultation. Do you have such a report that we can see?
I think it's just the reports that have been presented to us so far, is that correct? Yeah.
Maybe I'll come back with that another time when I find the exact wording, but just
Sure.
maybe
Okay.
check that out. Thank you.
Over here.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. My name is Saram. I'm a resident of Gibsons. I have a question in two parts. You're about to, after the inquiries, you're about to take a vote on form and character. And I've been following this, and I couldn't help but notice that there's a very serious and substantial discrepancy between the view analysis images that have been prepared by the proponent and the ones that have just been done lately for the town by a third party. Looking at the images and noticing this discrepancy, it's obviously very clear to me that either the images that had been prepared by the proponent were completely incompetent, or worse, they were extremely misleading. And these have been public information that have been informing the public as well as staff and yourselves. So the two parts of my question is, one, you're about to make a vote on something that you've been informed by improper or misleading information that's been prepared, and only lately has this been modified. And the other part is, there's the political part of this for yourselves as council. The other part of my question is, first part of the question is, how confident can you be in making a judgment at this point, having had this lead up that has actually been incorrect? The other part of my question is for the planner in the same sense, because while you are making a political decision, the planner has made a professional decision or made recommendations based on this previous information. And so I looking at this information myself, I have really serious concerns about it, and I'm just questioning how you can feel confident, not only about this aspect of it, but any other aspect, any other information that is being supplied by the proponent.
Okay, well, thank you. And that's the reason why council requested the visuals to be done, so that we would have something that was done under the jurisdiction of the town. And so that's what I'm relying on. It's also the same reason that we're have asked to double check the geotech and hydrological aspects, again, to make sure that we're satisfied with that information, as opposed to simply relying on that provided by the proponent. So that's what we're doing, is trying to check and double check to the extent that we have the ability to do so.
I did have another part to that question, and that was for the planner.
So I guess I forgot that part. Sorry, what was that?
Well, it was just that while you were making a political decision, the planner has made recommendations based on being informed in a process that led up to this that was several months in the process. And I'm just wondering how confident the planner can be in making judgments on this.
Well,
and then the confidence in the information that's being received, okay?
Yeah, you know, the planner has access to other outside resources that I know that he's been using. Basically, it's up to council whether or not they accept recommendations that come from the planner. So at this point, I'm satisfied with the information we're getting where I am. Thank you, over here. Thank you, sir.
Betsy Cecil from Gibsons. Given that the decision, or apparently a decision that's about to be made to accept the form and character of this hotel is, as I understand it, based on the fact that it's going to that it's necessary to have this size of a development because of its purported economic benefits for the town. And given that there seems to be a considerable amount of disagreement about that analysis and that you have more analysis to go and so forth and so on, it would seem to me somewhat reasonable to wait on passing that part of it until you've sorted out the economic stuff. I mean, why go and do all the geotechnical blah, blah, blahs if when you sort through the economic stuff, it isn't going to be feasible? Yeah, so my question becomes, will you wait on passing or, passing on the size of this project until you have sorted out the economic benefits, pro or con, or something in between, or whatever?
Well, I think, as you saw last week, the process was set out on the video there, and this first step simply creates potentially a first reading, assuming it passes. There's several possible amendments that can take place subsequent to that, which I suspect will be affected by whatever information comes before council over the next several weeks. So, in other words, this is still.
So your answer is you won't wait to sort out the economic stuff before saying that the size of it is okay?
There won't be final approval for the size before we've had the discussion on the economics here. Back over to this microphone here.
Yes, hi, my name is Steve March. Mayor Rowe and Council, last week I was at the meeting, and one of the councillors had suggested a better hotel location would be in Upper Gibsons. And well, I'm a boater, and Gibsons of Gibsons Landing, and it's a potential world-class marine destination. It's an incredible harbor that we have. It has so much potential. It's currently underdeveloped. It's plagued by aging buildings, graffiti, parking garages. It just has so much potential. My question would be why would anyone want a tourist hotel and conference facility located up the hill next to strip malls, commercial and industrial buildings when we can improve the existing waterfront and draw visitors to Gibson's Landing from around the world and enjoy that incredible vista that we have? I just can't understand how anyone could make a comment like that.
I'm going to assume that's a rhetorical question. but yes, thank you. Okay. Yes?
David Stowe area. Last November, when the District of Sechelt was launching its business development subsidiary called Sechelt Innovations Limited, there was a report in the Coast Reporter, and they quoted Mayor Henderson as talking about 6 new businesses that are starting or about to start there. One of which is a new 120-room hotel in East Porpoise Bay at the foot of Dusty Road. I've seen photos since then, which make it appear that site preparation is going ahead. And the Coast Reporter story said that this facility would also have a small conference center. So my question is, has anyone on council or staff had informal conversations with their counterparts in Sechelt? Does anyone know approximately what size of meeting or conference space is being proposed there compared with what's being proposed here?
I certainly don't. I guess the answer is no. Send the microphone.
Good evening, Mayor Rowe and councillors. My name is Peggy Wright. I'm both a homeowner and a small business owner in the Landing. And my question, as a newly semi-retired senior citizen with now limited earnings, if we continue to have no major economic stimulators like the George go through, what do I need to plan for in the escalating property taxes over the next, say, 10 years?
Well, I obviously can't tell you specifically on that, but I think that if you stick around for Ian's report, you'll soon see that I think it's next. We got here. I think our water fund has about $45,000 in reserves in it, and based on our projections, next year will be negative $265,000 on our DCCs in that fund. That's just one fund. So we do have some potential serious issues ahead of us if we don't find a way to increase the tax base.
Thank you.
Over here.
My name is Catherine, and I live in Lower Gibsons. I'm a homeowner. As a person who participated very enthusiastically in the recent OCP, I hosted 3 OC pizza parties, and it stimulated a lot of very engaged and passionate discussion. What I'm wondering about is what came out of those discussions is just a lot of awareness on the part of council's conundrums about how to raise funds to maintain and perhaps build infrastructure for our town, and balanced against the aesthetic and the tone of our town, which is not West Van, is not even Metro Vancouver. And so what I'm wondering about is the timing of the OCP revision in conjunction with this proposal in front of town, and I'm wondering how much of this push to approve this project is really just trying to balance out the fiscal needs of this town. And I'm asking, is there perhaps not even a better way to engage the townspeople in a really collaborative way to decide, we're prepared to sacrifice this in favor of this, because it seems to me, with all of the various conversations that I've heard around me, that as wonderful potentially as this convention center is, it is very much, as Mark Twain says, put all your eggs in one basket and watch that basket. So if this is not our basket, if this basket does not pan out, then we're stuck still figuring out how do we continue to make this town viable. And I'm wanting to disentangle one set of requirements from the other conversation, because I'm not pleased with the divisive tone in this town. I'm wanting to communicate with my neighbors, and I'm finding that that's getting harder and harder. So I'd really like to see the town show some leadership here, and maybe engage the town in some discussion around how to make it viable without maybe investing everything in this project.
Okay, thank you. Over this other microphone.
Hi, my name is John. I'm a property owner in the town of Gibsons. And I have a question for Mayor Rowe. The rezoning of this property to allow high-rise development will highly increase real estate transactions in the community for this project and potential other properties with the upzoning effects. Since this type of business may have ongoing financial benefit to your law firm and family, is it not prudent to excuse yourself from having a vote in these matters due to the real or perceived conflict of interest?
So the answer is no. Over here.
Tim Turner, resident and property owner in Gibsons. I'm looking at this biggie-sized hotel application, and as I see the OCP that is presently in effect, this does not meet the form and character guidelines of our OCP. And so my question to council is, how is it that you are in a position to vote on the form and character of this proposal when our OCP, as it presently exists, is very clear that this does not work?
Well, again, if you look at some of the reports that we've been dealing with, it's very clear that that is one of the options, that it can fit within the form and character. That's up to the council to determine or make that selection. So, it's not clear. It's not clear what you're saying, so.
I think it's clear to a large number of people in this town.
Okay, back over here.
My name is Carl Olson. I live in Area E. And you're suggesting that this issue isn't clear. This is the issue which isn't clear. This is from page 30 of the Harbour Area Plan. Goal 1 is divided into 4 goals. And this is goal 1, the very first. Retain the scale and character of the harbour area. Objective 1.1. This is the very first objective outlined in the harbour area plan. Ensure new development is compatible in scale with existing development in the harbour area. How can you possibly say that this development is within the scale of the existing buildings in the harbour area?
Okay, so the goals are not set out in any priority. You mentioned 1. Goal number 2 is to make the waterfront fully accessible. The objective there is to complete and enhance the town's pedestrian cycling network, creating a bicycle and pedestrian-friendly harbour area. Ensure that the waterfront is physically and continually accessible to the public along its entire length.
I'm asking about the scale.
Upgrade and improve. My point is, there are 5 goals there. There's 1 goal that maybe it doesn't fit completely, but there's 4 other goals where it does.
Okay.
So it's not just one that you choose.
This has the enforcement of law. If it is not within the bounds of the harbour area plan, it can be challenged and overturned by a judge, as was done in Fort Langley.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, over to this microphone.
Christine Gaskins, resident of business owner in Lower Gibsons. Mayor Rowe, if this building is approved at this height, isn't that going to set a precedent for other buildings on the waterfront, for instance, where Pulse Marine is and the other proposed condominium building companies then asked for an 8-story building instead of a 4-story?
In my mind, it doesn't set a precedent for me. This is a very specific project I'm looking at, and that's all I'm looking at. It does not set any precedent for me.
Yes, Mayor Rowe and councillors, my name is George Grafton. I'm only going to speak to the economic report. And just to make sure that I knew I was on the right page, I went and got the economic report and read it fully. I don't know how many people here have read it, but it's very clear as you go through this, and I know that most of the public here is not stupid. So I'm just going to give you some details out of the actual economic development plan. That, first off, the general manager of this multi-million-dollar hotel will make $40,000 a year. It's exactly what it says here, and you can get the study. Well, so I went and got the information from the Palliser Hotel in Calgary, Predator Ridge in Vernon, and the Wiccan-Inish. Now that general manager there makes between $150,000 and $200,000 depending on what his bonus is. The next one, the frontline food and beverage man that runs about 80 people, he's going to make $19,000 a year. Well, there's not a food and beverage manager that doesn't make $75,000 to $100,000 that runs that size of an operation. Secondly, the department managers are going to make $38,000. Well, there's not one of them in any one of those hotels that doesn't make over $75,000. So I ask you, when you look at such skewed numbers in a report like this, how can you give it any credibility? If you give it any credibility, you're making a mockery of this whole process. I just have to rely on you as councillors to make the right decisions. But when you're given disinformation like this, I just go, well, how come it's even allowed to be given? So thank you.
Okay, the answer is that Dr. Riddle is entitled to give us her information just as anyone else is. Okay, back over to this mic.
I don't really have an inquiry. I'm not supposed to inquire. Well, I guess I do.
That's okay, because none of the others were inquiries.
Thank you for your attitude.
Sorry, would you state your name, please?
Yeah. Oh, Heather Powell, homeowner in Gibsons. I just need to say, you know, it seems to be clear that you are trying to act in the best interests of the town. There may be some personal gain, as was implied, you know, but I know that you're wanting to give us a tax base, etc. But I think what is clear here is that most of the people who are opposing the George as it is being proposed are not opposed to economic development and are not opposed to developing the waterfront in an appropriate way, in a way that is in compliance with the existing OCP and Harbour Area Plan. I think what people are really asking for here from the 3 councillors who are voting in favour of the George as it is being proposed is there, you know, any way that you can see to modify with the proponent of the plan and the developer who stands to be the one who does make the most out of this, if anybody's going to make something out of it, you know, can you see your way to scale it down to a more appropriate size? Maybe not as far back as Dr. Riddle has proposed, but somewhere in between. For sure the height is it's way over height. I mean, it's kind of obvious to most people in this room. And I know you have the reasons for thinking why it's a good idea, but what I'm saying is, you know, is there room to go back to the planning table and say, you know, it's so clear how many people are against it as it's being proposed. Can we have a development that is more in keeping with the character of Gibsons and more in keeping with the people who are making this place a place where other people want to live and other people want to visit?
Mayor Rowe, Suzanne Sanger.
Sorry, I didn't get an answer, Suzanne. I'm just waiting for an answer. Is there any chance that you're willing to go back to the planning table?
The next part of the agenda has those recommendations, so you'll have to see what I said.
I'd like to reiterate what Heather Powell just said. I think that there's some misunderstanding out there, including on council, that there are a bunch of naysaying NIMBYs out there who don't want to see any development, and that is absolutely wrong. GABC, you all know I'm the president of GABC, the Gibsons Alliance of Business and Community, and I'm a little tired of the sniping and the snide remarks, and I'm a little offended by how this highly credentialed professional person who lives in our community has been treated and disrespected, and I would really like to see you raise the bar as to how you treat people here. Okay, no, I'm serious. I'm serious. Mr. Grafton can stand up and he can say a bunch of, you know, remarks about this highly credentialed professional. Maybe we should Google him. Okay? So I do have a couple of questions about process, Mayor Rowe. The first one is to clarify about what Graham Walker was saying, and it's about application review, and it is, if I may ask the planner, step 4 in the application review for a rezoning application is says, before review begins, applications are checked for completeness. Is this application complete?
So, first of all, you don't address our staff directly. Questions are through the chair. Andre, is that something that you're able to respond to?
In October, November, the application was complete for review, for start of review, yes. Thank you.
So, can I carry on with my inquiry, Mayor Rowe? It's about the geotechnical and the, I mean, the economic analysis is obviously part of that, but I keep hearing back from you that we're just at the beginning of the process. We have to look at the economics, we have to look at the geotechnical, the toxics we've heard something about, but we really don't hear much about that. So I don't understand how the application can be complete when there are all these unanswered questions?
Well, you've had the answer, so. The answer was the application was complete for review, so it's being reviewed, and this is the various studies that are being requested and dealt with, so that's where it's at. Okay, back over here.
Thank you. My name is Jerry Harris. I moved to Gibsons with my parents in 1968, so I've seen a little bit happen around the town. I'm also a business and landowner within the town. I employ 14 people in well-paying jobs in the town of Gibsons. My question is, if the George or something similar does not go ahead, what will council do to ensure that my business taxes do not rise so high that the viability of my business is threatened?
Well, clearly for myself, that's one of my major concerns, quite frankly. I don't know what the answer is. I guess what you're saying is somebody else got a plan? Because I don't.
Thank you very much. I'd also like to point out that there's a lot of people in this room that like the George as it's proposed. And one day when I retire, I'd be happy to live in a spot like that. Thank you.
Okay, back over here.
He said I could go again, so that was nice of him.
Sure.
So the next part of that step 4 in the application review process, and I'll just be really clear that it seems to me that obviously the application isn't complete when we don't know whether or not, well, we kind of do know that excavating the aquifer 14 feet in isn't really an appropriate thing to do, and that we need more information about that before anything should go forward. But the next sentence is that the proposal is referred to other staff and outside agencies. And so I'm wondering, where are we at in that process? Where have the referrals gone? Who has these referrals, and how long until we get them back?
Okay, thank you. Andre, can you respond to that, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The application has been referred out last spring sometime, and in my upcoming report on the zoning bylaw, one of the upcoming reports, I'm going to summarize that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Back over here.
Sheila Weaver, Gibsons. It's a question that I asked last week, but I didn't receive an answer. And that is that I wonder if the town of Gibsons has looked at any other town of similar size that has built a hotel/convention center, and how successful this was, whether it really panned out the way it was hoped, and if not, have those towns any suggestions as to what mistakes they made that Gibsons could avoid, perhaps in appropriate sizing, that type of thing, so that, as others have suggested, there might be a size that is workable, rather